Let's talk about tariffs, a tax on imported goods. Tariffs are one of the oldest tools in the economic playbook, and they're used by governments all over the world. But what do they actually do, and why do they matter to you? Imagine you're shopping for a new TV, and suddenly, the price tag jumps overnight. That's often the invisible hand of tariffs at work. When your government adds a 25% tariff to TVs from country B, that TV instantly costs you more. Retailers don't just absorb the extra cost, they pass it on to you, the consumer, so what was once an affordable upgrade now feels out of reach, and you might start to wonder if it's worth it. The goal? Make foreign goods pricier so you'll buy local, boosting domestic industry. By making imports less attractive, governments hope you'll choose products made closer to home, supporting local jobs and businesses. It's a way to encourage homegrown manufacturing and keep money circulating within the country. But tariffs rarely end there. Country B often retaliates, slapping tariffs on your country's exports. This back and forth can quickly spiral, with each side trying to outdo the other, making it harder for businesses to plan and for consumers to find affordable options. This tit-for-tat is called a trade war, an escalating cycle of economic penalties. Trade wars can dominate headlines, spark political debates, and create uncertainty in global markets. They're not just about numbers, they're about power, pride, and sometimes politics. The real impact? Prices rise for everyday items, phones, shoes, car parts, anything imported. Even if you don't buy imported goods directly, you'll likely feel the pinch as costs ripple through the economy, affecting everything from groceries to gadgets. Businesses relying on foreign materials face higher costs, which usually get passed on to you. Small businesses, in particular, can struggle to keep up, sometimes leading to layoffs or even closures. The effects can be felt in every corner of the economy. Tariffs are a blunt tool. They aim to protect local jobs, but can disrupt global supply chains and raise the cost of living. Delays at ports, shortages of key materials, and higher prices at the checkout are all part of the fallout. What starts as a policy decision can quickly become a daily headache for millions. Trade wars don't just hit big corporations, they affect everyone, from factory workers to farmers. When exports drop, farmers may lose markets for their crops, and factory workers might see reduced hours or job losses. The ripple effects can be wide and unpredictable. It's a high-stakes game where world leaders move economic pieces and ordinary people pay the price. Decisions made in distant capitals can have real consequences for your wallet, your job, and your community. When the big players clash, the rules change for everyone. Suddenly, what seemed like a far-off policy debate becomes a reality in your daily life, changing how you shop, work, and plan for the future. In this global drama, we're all in the audience, and on the stage. Whether you're a shopper, a worker, or a business owner, tariffs and trade wars shape the world you live in, often in ways you might not expect. In recent years, the United States, led by President Trump, has dramatically altered the global trade landscape. The administration's approach has been bold, controversial, and for many, unexpected. By imposing sweeping tariffs on some of America's largest trading partners, the U.S. has sent shockwaves through international markets and disrupted long-standing trade relationships. The strategy is simple in theory: make foreign goods more expensive, encourage consumers to buy American, and revive domestic industries that have struggled for decades. This is the essence of the America First doctrine, prioritizing American jobs, factories, and workers above all else. China, the world's manufacturing powerhouse, was hit hardest. A staggering 145% tariff was slapped on most Chinese products, making them nearly impossible to sell competitively in the U.S. market. American importers scrambled to find alternatives, while Chinese exporters faced mounting losses. Even close allies like Japan weren't spared. After weeks of tense negotiations and diplomatic standoffs, Japan agreed to a 15% tariff on its exports and committed to investing billions in new American factories and infrastructure. Yet, key Japanese exports, especially steel and aluminum, still face a punishing 50% tariff, threatening the future of some of Japan's most iconic industries and straining economic ties. This aggressive go-it-alone approach has fractured old alliances, leaving many traditional partners feeling betrayed and uncertain about the future. Around the world, countries have responded with their own retaliatory tariffs, sparking protests, political backlash, and a wave of uncertainty for businesses and consumers alike. Now, the US is locked in a complex web of renegotiations, using tariffs as leverage to extract better deals and reshape its economic relationships with nearly every major nation. The result? A chaotic and unpredictable landscape of trade disputes, emergency deals hammered out at the last minute, and a flood of legal battles at the World Trade Organization. America's bold gamble is forcing both allies and rivals to rethink their economic ties with Washington, and to reconsider their own strategies for the future. The world's trading system is being rewritten at a breakneck pace, with new rules, new alliances, and new uncertainties emerging almost every day. As the dust settles, one thing is clear. The future of global trade is more uncertain than ever, and no one can predict where this new era will ultimately lead. China and Japan have had to walk a tightrope, carefully balancing their own interests while responding to the mounting pressure from the United States. Both countries are economic powerhouses in Asia, but their strategies have been shaped by the need to protect their industries and maintain stability at home. In response to US tariffs, both nations face tough choices. The US's aggressive trade stance sent shockwaves through global markets, forcing China and Japan to rethink their approaches to international trade. China retaliated with its own tariffs, targeting US agriculture, especially soybeans and pork, aiming to hit American farmers and create political pressure in the US. But the scale of the US measures forced a pause. The uncertainty made Chinese exporters and importers nervous, slowing down business and prompting a reassessment of long-term strategies. A 90-day truce was struck. China paused retaliation, signaling a willingness to negotiate rather than escalate further. The US delayed its harshest tariffs, giving both sides a window to seek compromise and avoid a full-blown trade war that could destabilize the global economy. Both sides opened talks, with high-stakes negotiations covered closely by the world's media as investors and businesses watched for any sign of progress. Japan, blindsided by US threats, was forced to negotiate a painful compromise, accepting a 15% tariff on key exports and agreeing to huge US investments in Japanese industries to soften the blow. Both countries realized they faced a common threat from Washington's unpredictability. The US's shifting policies made it clear that no one was safe from sudden economic pressure. This pushed China and Japan, historic rivals with a long, complicated past, to quietly strengthen economic ties, seeking stability through cooperation. They're not friends, and deep mistrust remains, but necessity is driving cooperation. Both sides know that working together, even uneasily, is better than facing US pressure alone. The enemy of my enemy is, if not my friend, at least my business partner. In this new era, pragmatism outweighs old rivalries. The US's actions are forging unlikely alliances in Asia, as countries adapt to a rapidly changing global landscape and seek new ways to protect their interests. US tariffs have driven China, Japan, and South Korea to set aside old rivalries and build a new economic bloc. High-level meetings and joint pledges signal a real shift. They're accelerating talks for a trilateral free trade deal and backing the massive RCEP agreement. RCEP now unites much of Asia, without the US. America's go-it-alone strategy has pushed its allies to hedge their bets and reduce dependence on the US market. The region is building its own economic safety net. This is a pragmatic pivot born out of necessity. The global balance of power is shifting, fast. America's tariff strategy is sparking a global realignment. Traditional allies like the EU are forging new partnerships with China, bypassing the US. The EU, after facing US tariffs, struck its own deal but still faces steep penalties on key exports. Shared frustration is driving Europe and Asia closer together, building new economic poles. These blocs are strengthening institutions like the WTO and creating trade agreements that exclude the US. The era of US-led globalization is fading, replaced by a multipolar world order. Economic power is now more diffuse, alliances more pragmatic. The trade war meant to reassert US dominance may be accelerating its decline. Trade wars hit home, literally. US consumers face higher prices on everything from electronics to Christmas decorations. American businesses pay more for parts, and farmers lose export markets. In Japan, cars get pricier in the US, threatening jobs, while new US farm imports pressure local farmers. In China, factory jobs are at risk as exports slow. The result? Uncertainty, higher costs, and economic anxiety for ordinary people everywhere. Trade wars are a lose-lose-lose. Global trade stands at a crossroads. The old system of US-led free trade is under threat from aggressive tariffs and fractured alliances. One path, the US backs down, tariffs unwind, and trust is slowly rebuilt. The other, the world splits into regional blocs, Asia, Europe, and others, each forging its own path. Supply chains become regional, competition intensifies, and global commerce fragments. For businesses and consumers, the rules and prices depend on which bloc you belong to. The next moves by world leaders will shape the global economy for decades. The stakes couldn't be higher.